Ngakoue was traded again, although this time from Minnesota to Baltimore, not from Jacksonville to Minnesota. It's a pretty rough one here. So in 2000, well, they traded a 2021 second round pick to begin this, along with a 2022 conditional fifth round draft pick, which then had escalations. But Minnesota then flips him for a 2021 third round draft pick and a 2022 fifth round draft pick to Baltimore. So, yeah, the actual cap gain from this is $4 million. They actually incur $8 million of dead money. For what Ngakoue did, he had 5 sacks, 11 pressures, 3 hurries, 3 quarterback knockdowns, 7 quarterback hits, and 5 tackles for loss. Now, I actually don't agree with this at all. Like, if you want to talk about just percentage of things, his sacks, that's 38.5% of Minnesota's sacks. He has 21.6% of their pressures, 13% of their hurries, and 20% of their actual quarterback knockdowns. So he's basically their source of hitting the quarterback, of sacking the quarterback, of pressuring the quarterback. So, when you have a young secondary, this is not going to help them at all in terms of progression. One reason why I hate this, even if you weren't going to re-sign him after this year, based on what they've seen, I feel like having a guy like that could actually help your development of your young back-end players. Remember, their oldest corner is a 3-way tie at 23 years old. So, this could hurt quite immensely. Now, I also thought Ngakoue looked to be a crucial part of what Minnesota was building on this defensive line for not this season, but years to come. And if you look at it, Hunter, Ngakoue, and Michael Pierce would have been a devastating defensive line and quite possibly a top 5 defensive line if they all played their best. So, I'm kind of at a loss here because I've always been one of, if you control the trenches, you likely win a lot of games. So that's why I've always been willing to sacrifice things for defensive and offensive linemen. Although typically they do sacrifice for defensive linemen. It's pretty rare we see them actually get rid of one. But I find this interesting, to say the least. And I think, now edge becomes something else to look for. Because I think as of how it was looking, Yannick Ngakoue was actually kind of a priority. So now edge is becoming much more of a thing after this season. And it's hard to think they actually make this move, though, if they don't at least like what they've seen from DJ Wonnum. They have to at least like something they've seen, because he has played in 50 and 41% of the snaps in the last 2 games, and the previous closest he had to that was 34%. So he is playing more, and you have to think, they like what they see at the very least. What he has he has 1 sack, 2 pressures, 1 hurry. He doesn't have a quarterback knockdown, has one quarterback hit, and 3 tackles for a loss. So he's not getting there as much. Hopefully we see that change. And I do think, as an overall thing, this tells me Zimmer and Spielman are likely safe. And I know there's a lot of people that don't want to hear that, but I do think that's true. Because it's hard to think and hard to imagine that a team that's kind of playing for their jobs here, for, coaching and GM, front office, coaching staff, all that good stuff. So it's hard to imagine they're trading a player like Yannick Ngakoue if their only job was told, get to 7 or 9 or 8-8, and that's the only way to salvage this for you guys. They aren't making this trade if that's the precedent. So I'm thinking they're probably safe, strictly because this is not a move you make when you're not safe. So that just is what that is. And I do think Anthony Harris and Riley Reif are likely the next targets to be leaving. I was actually going to make a video on those. Were the only 2 I thought made sense. I didn't think about Ngakoue because I thought this was a actual potential future building block, but nope. But yeah, trading Anthony Harris actually incurs no dead money and would get a $11.4 million in cap relief. Riley Reef, it does actually have $4.4 million in dead money this year and only a $3.8 million cap gain, but it's more about the cap gain in 2021, which if they trade him during this season, it's $13.95 million versus if they trade him in the offseason or cut him in the offseason, they actually only save $11.75 million. So this is more of a cap gain move for 2021 if they were to do it, and I would expect not much in return, mostly because of, well, what his cap number is, although it is kind of like a piece of toilet paper in the sense they can just shred it up at any point they want after this season, and if someone were to trade for him, but I wouldn't expect much, and it would be basically an unloading for 2021. Now, I would like to know your guys' comments and opinions down below. Like and subscribing, super helpful. Until next time, I bid y'all adieu.